This is the notes packet for the first unit of algebra. We're going to start out with section 1. We are going to be graphing linear equations using a table. So the instructions say we need to sketch the graph of each line by making a table of values, and it says use x values between -2 to 2 in our table. So to construct a table, I'm going to zoom in here on this first problem. And at the bottom, I'm going to draw kind of a sideways T. And that'll help me keep all my values organized. I'm going to have my X and my Y. And if we look back up at the instructions, it says use X values from -2 to +2. And so I'm going to write down each number from -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I can divide that up if I want to keep that a little bit cleaner. And what I'm doing here is I'm building a table to fill in different values so that when I know the x value is -2, I want to plug it into my equation to see what y will become. So I'm going to plug in this value here of x being -2 right here where that x is. The easiest way to do that is on your calculator. One typical calculator a lot of you may use is the TI-30X IIS, and this one's a pretty good one for handling fractions, so I'll show you real quick. If I were to type in this problem, I would start with the -1/5 right here. And to do that, I'm going to hit the negative key, and then I'm going to hit the 1, and then the fraction key is the one that has an ABC on it, right there, and then the 5. So -1/5. And I'm going to immediately multiply that by the number that I'm plugging in, -2. So I'm going to again hit my negative. I'll change colors here. I'm going to hit my -2. And then I'm just going to do the +2 at the end. So +2. And what I'm doing here is I'm fully typing this in, and when I hit enter, it's going to give me the answer. That's going to be 2 2/5. I'm going to write that here. Now one shortcut you can take when you go into your calculator is if you hit the up arrow, this arrow right here, after you've calculated the last one, it will let you edit what you just recently typed in. And so you can go up and change the -2 that you entered from this table here, and you can change it to a -1. So you can just put your cursor over the 2 and change it to a 1. So now you're plugging in a -1. And when you plug in a -1 and then hit enter again, this time you're going to get 2 1/5. And so you'll write that in your table. You'll repeat that by hitting up one more time and changing the -1 to a 0. So you go over the 1 and you can type over it with a 0. The problem is you still have that negative there. So if you use your cursor to hover over the negative, you can press the delete key right here up on top, and the delete key will get rid of that negative. Then you can hit enter to calculate this, and you're going to get just plain old 2. You can repeat that for each step. If you need to pause the video while you do that, please do so now. You will get 1 4/5 for the x value of 1. And when you change that 1 to a 2, you hit up again and change it to a 2, you're going to get 1 3/5. Now you want to take this table and you want to use it to graph, to draw your graph. So you're going to take the -2 of an x value that you started with here, the -2 x value, and the y value of 2 2/5, and you're going to use that to plot a point. So the x is -2, so I'm going to go back 1, 2, and I'm going to go up, because it's a positive, 2 2/5. So a little under 2 1/2, and I'm going to make that dot right on the screen, right on the graph. Next one I'm going to do is the -1, and I'm going to go up 2 1/5. So I'm going to go backwards 1, because x is -1, so backwards 1, and up 2 1/5. So again, a little bit above 2. continue on, I'm going to do x of 0, which means I'm not going to go over, left, or right. I'm going to stay right on the axis, and I'm going to go up 2. And then I'm going to go over positive 1 and up 1 4/5, so pretty close to 2, but a little under. And then finally, last one, I'm going to go over 2 to the right, x is 2, and up 1 3/5, so about 1.5. And that is the points that I drew on my line. Last step I want to do when I'm drawing a line is I want to connect all these dots. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that goes through these, and you can continue that onwards and draw arrows because it goes on forever. And that would be my line. So let's go ahead and do one more over here, one more example. This one is a little bit easier because we might not have to use our calculator. So I'm going to start again with my table. And I'm going to use x on top and y on bottom. And I'm going to go from -2 to 2, just like we did before. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Divide those up. And now I need to plug each of those in for the x that we have right here. This time, instead of using the calculator, I'm just going to show you by writing out below what I'm doing. I'm going to plug in to this equation the -2. So I'm going to have a negative x, and I'm going to just leave open parentheses, minus 5 is my equation. That's what y is equal to. And I'm going to plug in a value of -2 for x. And when I do that, I get -2, which is +2. Minus 5. +2 minus 5 is a -3. It's like 5 minus 2, except negative. I can repeat this process by plugging in the next value. So I plug in a -1 to this equation, and I have -1, which is just +1, minus 5. 1 minus 5 is -4, and so forth. So I'm going to continue plugging values into this, and I'm going to plug in the 0. -0 minus 5 is going to be -5. Negative of a positive one is just -1, and -1 minus 5, since they're both negative, the answer is going to become more negative, so it's going to be -6. And you can start to see a pattern emerging here as well. And the last one you're going to plug in is the +2. X equals +2 right here. And now I have negative of that, so -2 minus 5. -2 made more negative is going to be -7. And now I have to plot these points. So I go to my graph, and as I look at this, I go back 2, so I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to go backwards 2 and down 3. So back 2, down 3. Plot that point. I'm going to go then backwards 1, down 4. Backwards 1, down 4. I'm going to go neither backwards nor forwards. I'm going to move over 0 and go down 5. I'm going to go over 1 and down 6. And then the last one says go over 2 and down 7. Now, that's a little bit tricky because it's off my graph, but I'll just put it right there because I know approximately where that's going to be. And like before, once we've done all that, we need to connect our dots with a line, and now we are done. We graphed our linear equation. Linear means line, so we graphed our line using a table. We started with a table from -2 to +2, and we plugged in each of those numbers into the original equation, like this here, and we got our y value, and then we plotted those points and connected them. Since we're graphing lines, these should always form a straight line.